October 12, 1944, 25,000 feet above northwestern Germany, 8:30 in the morning. First Lieutenant Chuck Yeager, 21 years old, from Hamlin, West Virginia, was leading 49 P-51 Mustangs toward Bremen, not flying wing, not following, leading the entire 357th Fighter Group. Every Mustang in the formation was his responsibility. 6 months ago, he'd been a fugitive in occupied France, hiding in cellars, carrying a wounded man over the Pyrenees. 3 months ago, he'd been grounded, stuck behind a desk. He'd fought his way back to combat by going directly to Eisenhower. The Supreme Commander had looked at this skinny kid and decided to give him a second chance. Today was the day that decision would be vindicated. The mission was bomber escort, B-24 Liberators heading to Bremen. Two of the group squadrons, the 362nd and 364th, stayed close to the bombers. Yeager's squadron, the 363rd, call sign Cement, was sent out ahead. 50 to 100 miles in front. Find trouble before trouble finds the bombers. He was flying glamorous Glen 3, a P-51D, bubble canopy for full visibility, 650 caliber machine guns, the Merlin engine that could take you from England to Berlin and back. The morning was clear, good visibility, the kind of day where a pilot with 20/10 vision could see forever. And Yeager's eyes were seeing something. Specks, tiny dark marks against the pale sky, moving, not bombers. These were maneuvering, circling, waiting. He was over Steinhuder Meer, a large lake northwest of Hanover, and above it, at his altitude, roughly 1.5 miles away, the specks were resolving into shapes. He counted them. 22. 22 Messerschmitt Bf-109s, circling in a holding pattern, waiting for the bomber stream. They'd been vectored in by ground control, positioning for a head-on attack on the B-24s. Close at a combined speed of 600 miles per hour, fire everything, break away before the gunners can track you. 22 109s into heavy bombers. The damage would be catastrophic. Except they hadn't seen Yeager. They were focused on the bombers behind him, not looking for what was looking for them. Yeager had the sun at his back, the oldest advantage in aerial combat. If you're between the enemy and the sun, they can't see you. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe. We tell the World War II stories about courage, skill, and the moments when one man changed everything. To understand what was about to happen, you need to understand who Chuck Yeager was on the morning of October 12th. He'd enlisted as a private in 1941, mechanic, not a pilot. The first time he went up as a passenger, he threw up all over the back seat. But when the Army opened pilot training to enlisted men without college degrees, he applied, because the pay was better. Turned out the kid who could shoot a squirrel at 50 yards from the time he was 10 could also fly an airplane like he'd been born in the cockpit. His 20/10 vision let him spot enemy aircraft before anyone else. His instinct for trajectory, the same instinct that made him a dead shot in the West Virginia woods, made him lethal in the air. A squirrel running along a branch and a Messerschmitt crossing the sky are, to the part of the brain that does the math, the same problem. Now he was looking at 22 of those problems circling above a German lake, and he had 16 Mustangs behind him. He keyed his radio. 22 109s, same altitude. They haven't seen us. Drop tanks, follow me. 16 Mustangs dropped their external fuel tanks, silver objects tumbling toward the countryside. Without the tanks, lighter, faster, ready to fight. Yeager climbed from 25,000 to 30,000 feet, getting above the 109s. Height was energy. Energy was life. He closed to about 1,000 yards, still unseen. The 109s still circling, still focused on the bombers they expected from the west, unaware that 16 Mustangs were above them, behind them, between them and the sun. Then he dove. Glamorous Glen 3 tipped over, the Merlin screaming, airspeed climbing past 400, the 109s growing larger in the windscreen. Individual aircraft now, dark green fuselages, yellow noses, pilots looking the wrong way. He fell in behind the trailing 109, closed the range, thumb on the gun button. Then the German pilot looked in his mirror, saw the Mustang, panicked, broke hard to port, full deflection, flew directly into his wingman. Two 109s collided, wings shearing through fuselages, both aircraft tumbling out of the sky, both pilots ejected. 2 kills, without firing a single round. Yeager wrote it later with typical understatement. It was almost comic, scoring 2 quick victories without firing a shot. But there was no time. The sky erupted. 16 Mustangs and 20 remaining 109s in the same cube of air. Tracers crossing every direction. Aircraft pulling contrails through tight turns. Yeager found his third. A 109 crossing left to right, 600 yards. A deflection shot, the hardest kind. You don't aim at where the target is. You aim at where it's going to be. A squirrel running along a branch. Same math. He fired. Strikes across the fuselage, heavy in the cockpit. The 109 staggered, rolled, fell. 3. He didn't watch it go down. Another 109 was angling in behind him, closing fast, firing position in seconds. Yeager hauled the throttle back, hard, nearly stalling. The 109 shot past him, overshot. The German was now in front instead of behind. Yeager rolled up and over, kicked right rudder, came in behind and under simultaneously. 3 control inputs at once: stick, rudder, throttle. A coordination that took most pilots months to learn. 100 yards, point blank. The 109 filled his windscreen. He could see the rivets. He fired. 3 seconds, 10-degree deflection. The fuselage split open. The 109 exploded, pieces flying past his canopy. 4. 1 left. A lone 109 diving, full throttle, running for the ground. The pilot had decided the sky was no place to be. Yeager followed, the altimeter unwinding. 20,000, 15, 10. The ground coming up fast. He fired, hits on wings and tail, pieces breaking away. The German couldn't pull out, hit the ground at over 400 miles per hour. Fireball in a German field. Yeager pulled up, G-forces crushing him into the seat. Gray closing at the edges of his vision. He cleared the ground with 1,000 yards to spare. 5. 5 kills. 1 mission. Ace in a day. He looked around. The sky was emptying. 109s falling, burning, fleeing. Mustangs reforming. Maybe 15 minutes had passed. Maybe less. Dogfights run on their own clock. The 363rd Fighter Squadron had destroyed 8 of the 22 109s, without losing a single Mustang. 8 kills, 0 losses. Yeager flew back to Leiston, landed, climbed out of the cockpit, held up 5 fingers to his crew chief. Stars and Stripes put him on the front page. 5 kills vindicate Ike's decision. Eisenhower had been criticized for letting an evadee return to combat. Yeager had repaid the decision with the most spectacular single-day performance of any pilot in his group. He was awarded the Silver Star. But October 12th wasn't the end. On November 6th, he encountered the Me-262, the world's first operational jet fighter, 150 miles per hour faster than his Mustang. 5 of them attacked his formation and vanished into the clouds before anyone could react. But Yeager found one on approach to land at a camouflaged airfield near Akhmer. Gear down, flaps down, 200 miles per hour. Slow. He split est from above, dove through dense anti-aircraft fire, fired one short burst at 400 yards, hits on the wings. The 262 crash-landed 400 yards short of the runway. A wing tore off. Then Yeager flew straight down the runway at treetop level. The flak gunners on both sides fired at him and hit their own positions on the opposite side. He said later, "First time I saw a jet, I shot it down. Not very sportsmanlike, but what the hell." On November 27th, he destroyed 4 FW-190s in a single mission, his second multi-kill day. He described it in his autobiography. That day was a fighter pilot's dream. In the midst of a wild sky, I knew that dogfighting was what I was born to do. His last combat mission was January 15th, 1945, his 64th. Final tally, 11 and a half confirmed victories. The half was a shared kill with Second Lieutenant Frank Gaylor. His close friend, Captain Bud Anderson, who flew with him throughout the war, described Yeager simply. He flew like a demon. When Yeager attacked, he was ferocious. Yeager was the best, period. No one matched his skill or courage, or, I might add, his capacity to raise hell and have fun. On October 14, 1947, Chuck Yeager climbed into the Bell X-1 rocket plane at Muroc Army Airfield. He had 2 broken ribs from a horse riding accident, didn't tell the flight surgeons, used a broom handle to pull the hatch shut because his arm couldn't reach. Then he flew faster than the speed of sound, Mach 1.06, 45,000 feet, the first human being to break the sound barrier in level flight. The kid from Hamlin who had learned to shoot squirrels at 6 years old, who carried a man over the Pyrenees, who talked his way past Eisenhower, who killed 5 Messerschmitts in 15 minutes over a German lake. Years later, a reporter asked him about October 12th, about the 5 kills, about vindicating Eisenhower. Yeager shrugged. "I saw 22 109s. I had the sun, I had altitude, I had 16 Mustangs behind me. They didn't see us coming." He paused. "Where I come from, if you see a flock of turkeys in a clearing, you don't shoot one and go home. You shoot as many as you can before they scatter. Same thing." That small, dry Appalachian smile. The turkey scattered pretty fast, though. If you were in that cockpit, diving out of the sun toward 22 enemy fighters, would you have led the attack? Let us know in the comments, and if you want more stories about courage, skill, and the men who changed the war,